Hi, I'm Gavin Hoey and you're watching the Technique of the Month from Digital Photo Magazine. This month I'm going to show you how to create stunning sunset images using Photoshop Elements 5. And as well as making a sunset, I'm also going to make a silhouette to go with it. And we're going to use this picture of Stonehenge for that. Now at the time of taking, I was trying to get this as much of a silhouette as possible, and I've done a pretty good job, but it could do with a bit of help from elements. So let's go up to Enhance, down to Adjust Lighting, and across to Levels. Now what you'll see on the Levels graph is that it's split pretty much in two. The left hand side represents the dark parts of the picture, so that'll be the stones and the grass. And the right hand side represents the bright white parts, such as the large area of sky. Now I actually want this sky to go as white as possible, so I'm going to move the little slider on the right hand side in towards the center, and as I do, the sky goes, well, pretty much completely white. The stones I can make a silhouette if I wish by bringing the right hand slider in towards the center, and those will go darker until they become pure black. But I don't want to really do that. I'd like a little bit of detail in those stones, so I'm going to bring it back a little bit. Round about there looks good. You can still make out a bit of detail in the stones. This technique will also increase the contrast of those stones still further, so the chances are by the end of this they'll go more or less black, so we'll let that happen as we go along. Okay, when you're happy, just click OK, and we're ready to bring in our sunset. To do that, let's go up to File, Open, and we'll open the sunset image. There we go. It's simply just a picture of a sunset. Nice sort of blank. There's a little bit of clouds at the bottom. Not the most exciting sunset, but the colour is what we're trying to get here. So let's copy this picture. We'll go first of all to Select and select all, so the whole picture has become selected, and then go to Edit and Copy. Now we can close that picture down, it's done its job, and we're back to Stonehenge again. Go up to Edit and choose Paste, and you'll put the sky, the sunset that you've just copied, over the top of Stonehenge. Now, to see what's going on at this point, we need to do a bit of work on the layers. So let's go to Window and choose Layers if you can't see them. And what you'll find is you've got two layers, one with the sunset on and one with your original picture underneath. To make these two layers work together, we're going to change the way they blend. And that means changing from normal blend mode to multiply blend mode. And that should allow the darker stones to come through but still keep the colour of the sunset. Okay, let's just tuck the layers away. We'll come back to those in a minute. Because that looks better, we now have a nice sunset colour, but it's a bit blank, the sky. So we're going to put some clouds in there just to put a bit of detail in. So we'll go to File, choose Open, and we'll open the Clouds image. And just as we did before, we're going to copy this by going to Select and Select All, and then Edit and Copy. We can close down the clouds, they've done their job, and we're back to Stonehenge again. Edit and Paste, we'll paste those clouds in, and if we go to the layers, there you can see we've pasted it in, and every time you paste, you get a new layer. So again, we need to make this layer work with the other two so we can see through it. So we'll change the blend mode from normal, and this time we'll use a different one. We're going to use Color Burn, and this should give a real punch to the colour. Wow, look at that. That really brings that sunset to life. It's really fiery now. And you could stop there. I mean, that really does work very well indeed. A beautiful heavy silhouette and a fiery sunset sky. But the bit that's worrying me is in this top corner here, where it's gone a little bit darker than on the other side. Now I actually quite like that darker area, so I'm going to try and do the same around the sides on the left hand side. Let's go back to the layers, and we're going to add a new layer in. We'll go to Layer, New, and Layer, and click OK to the box that pops up, and now you have a fourth layer, but it's got nothing in it, it's absolutely empty. Onto that layer we're going to put a selection. And I want to use the elliptical or oval selection tool. Now, you may not be able to see it because it's probably hidden behind the rectangular one. So if you click and hold the rectangular marquee, you can come down and click on the elliptical marquee. That gives you the oval shape that we're looking for. And I'm just going to make a rough oval somewhere around about there. If it's not in exactly the right place, you can just bring the mouse inside your selection and drag it about until you put it in the place where you want it. So about there will do. Now, we can't just use this selection as it is, because if we did, we'd have a very hard edge where we have a selection. So we're going to blend this out. We're going to soften the selection out by going up to Select and choosing Feather. How much feathering? Well, as much as we can, which is 200 pixels, and then click OK. And that should really soften the line down. The trouble is, it doesn't appear to make any difference whatsoever to the little marching ants, but trust me, we've just made a massive difference to our selection. The other thing we need to do is to swap this selection over, because at the moment we could only affect things inside the selection, and I want to darken the outside. So if we go to Select and choose Inverse, it should swap it so now the outside part of the picture is selected. Okay, we're going to fill this with a nice dark black colour. If you haven't got black as your foreground colour, either press D on the keyboard or click the little black and white squares to reset your colours. Next we're going to go up to Edit and choose Fill Selection. There we go. And we're using the foreground colour, that's correct. We'll click OK, and that fills it in with that lovely dark black. Select and deselect if you like, that'll get rid of the selection. It's done its job, we don't need to see it anymore. Now I think you'll agree that's really darkened the corners. Perhaps just a little bit too much. It's personal taste, but I'm guessing for most people that's probably a little bit heavy. Let's go back to the layers. Now, the reason we did this on its own layer, and there you can see it, is because it gives us a degree of control. So we can drop the opacity of that effect back, and as we do, so the darkening becomes less apparent and the sky comes through. And around about 30%, 35%, somewhere in that area, we should get a nice degree of darkening that blends in reasonably well. Trouble is, on the other side, it's gone too dark now, and it doesn't quite balance. So I'm just going to grab the eraser tool, and we'll get a nice big brush size. Let's see what we can go. Yeah, that looks nice and big. And we'll drop the opacity down to about 50% so the brush doesn't work too fast. And I'm just going to take out some of that darkness by erasing away the black that we painted in a minute ago. Yeah, that looks better, and that kind of balances up the two sides nicely. When you're finished, just pop the opacity of the eraser back up to 100%, otherwise next time you'll wonder why it doesn't work correctly. Okay, and there you go. There is your stunning sunset image completed.